It's a Jewish teaching. It's not something that Christians made up. At any rate, the last thing about truth, of course there's truth in all religions. And of course, if you go out and look at the moon tonight, there's still some moon left, it's bright. There's light of the moon, but it's not the same as the light of the sun. There's reflected light versus something that is its own source of light. And when we look at God and His Word, it's blindingly light. Of course, this cannot help but be reflected by other bodies that are up there in the sky, by other religions. All religions have truth in them. But I'm not going to homogenize and relativize and say, therefore, they're all paths to God. I don't think that's true. I think that would be a betrayal of Christianity. I think that would be a betrayal of historic Judaism as well.
All right, before we go to the public, to you to ask the question, I don't know if you've seen or you heard about a movie that just came out like a few weeks ago called Religulous. Yeah. Bill Maher did it. Anybody saw it from the public?
I haven't seen it.
Yes, it's an interesting movie. That was one of the few movies that I permitted myself to go and see. My wife said, as a rabbi, you must go and see it. And although when I entered with great apprehension as to what is it that is going to offend me, there were several things that offended me from that movie, but at least when I came out, at least I said, you know, blessed be He, the God who made me a Jew, because I felt that His treatment of Judaism was quite benign, because I have to say, probably did not find anything ridiculous in that religion. I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it. Any comment about it?
I cannot comment. I saw Fireproof a couple weeks ago with my wife. It was very, very religious, though. And I almost cried. I mean, it was very, it was some good stuff in there. If it's out in Lebanon, that's my next trip, and maybe I can look at it over there.
Might be there, yes.
All right.
Well, look, I think there's many things in our religion that can be subject to ridicule, Rabbi Abadi. I mean, from the fact that we will wave chickens on the eve of Yom Kippur, there's plenty. I mean, you know, I always, when I debated Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, and they point out plenty of things that they find nonsensical about Judaism, etc. The fact is that people who don't believe in anything, or atheists, we all have strange things that we sort of believe in. Mm-hmm. Look, evolution there's a bit of a leap of faith in that as well. I mean, the fact that you accept that the great complexity of the human mind, for example, can come about through a series of accidents. I mean, the human mind is the greatest computing machine ever known to man. And so everyone believes in something, as it were. When I debated Christopher Hitchens, interestingly, he says in his book, God is Not Great, he said that the human eye has no complexity to it. And he sort of shows the optic nerve is connected wrongly. The human eye has no complexity to it. I mean, I can take a 1 megapixel camera, which is a piece of, that has complexity to it, let alone the human eye. The fact is, we could all ridicule each other if we wanted to, and I'm sure people could find plenty of things in our faith. Whenever my friends say to me, my Jewish friends say to me, how could Christians believe that a man was God? For Jews, that is something that really is unpalatable, and how can, things along of those nature. I point out all the things that we believe that could be subject to the same kind of ridicule. So that's why, rather than ridiculing other people's faiths, I think there's actually a lot to learn. For me, the lesson in the three great monotheistic faiths of the world, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, is this. What are Jews really good at? Judaism excels at the idea of how you reach God through rules, through ritual. And Judaism is filled with the most beautiful rituals. Christianity excels at faith. And you reach God through the power of faith and that individual, that personal relationship with God. And Islam excels at passion. I mean, Muslims that I know when I was at Oxford, the Muslims are so proud of their tradition. They make no compromises. We in the Jewish community have often fought with, we came to America, a lot of us changed our names so that our names reflected, we would be more accepted in mainstream society. With Muslims, this is great passion. We have a lot to learn from one another, and that was my overall point.
All right, I think a wonderful conclusion of the debate between Dr. Jacoby and Rabbi Boteach. Now we're going to open up the floor for the public.
I asked Dr. Jacoby if you could comment on Matthew 10, verse 34, where Christ says, "Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword."
The man will be divided. If you continue with verses 35 and 36, it's okay. The division there
comes to turn a man against his father, a daughter against his mother, daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household.
Right. So in this case, the effect of the message is stated as though it's purposive. We see this kind of construction all over the Bible. In Isaiah chapter 6, go and preach to people, basically, so their hearts will be hard. That's not the point, but that's the result. Sometimes the result is stated as though it's a purpose. Nevertheless, the sword that Jesus refers to in Matthew 10:34 is simply referring to the division that will come when families disagree about so fundamental and important a truth. It's not a sword of violence. In fact, Jesus says, don't use the sword. So this is a metaphor. And there's a parallel passage in Luke where you think I came to be peace to the earth. No, but division. And the same thing. Again, that wasn't, God visits the planet to create division. No, this is a result. But often results are described as other purposes, just to get our attention. This is a bit of Semitic hyperbole, and it's a common feature of the Scriptures.
So you're saying that one member of the house may believe and another not believe?
I think that's all he's saying there, and that's what we see, not just today in historic Christianity. We see that in the pages of the New Testament. Families tend to all go together, but not necessarily.
I have a question. Lily.
Question, and it's a commentary. I'm a historian in religions, and there are many issues that I didn't agree about tonight. Let's start with one. You were comparing Christianism and Judaism to men and women. Like actually, both Christianism and Judaism believe that God created men and women in order to reproduce and fill the world with creatures. Joining two men together, I don't know what would they reproduce. Joining two women together, I don't know what would they reproduce. Either Christianity or Judaism, the scriptures won't make a good analogy. Then, sorry, about Islam just being violent, just less than the other religions. I think since the Turkish Empire took over, when state and religion are together, it's proved to be like when dictatorship of the Turkish Empire and the Islam religion, this is when they killed more people, not because they're Jewish, not because they're Christian, just because they wanted to. They were like Nazis. Till 1920, First World War, where the alliance of the three countries broke the Turkish Empire, and this is when it stopped. But still, they were still under either French rule or English rule. So they couldn't be autonomous or aggressive or anything. And then, sorry. No, I have one more. When you're saying early Christianity was not violent, you're right. And early, in these same centuries, not even Judaism or Christianity were violent. And you know why? Somebody here mentioned it, that was Constantine, when he changed the law and the Romans became Catholic, this is when, again, they chose to join religion and state. And this is when they started doing the councils, Concilio Vaticano of 500, Council of 700, and they started to eradicate anyone who didn't agree with them. That is, again, dictatorship. Sorry. Then we get to the 10th century, where we start crusades, and it lasts till the 12th century. Crusades all over Europe till Jerusalem. Jews, Mongols, whatever they are, they kill them. And then Inquisition, and then Holocaust. Millions of people. Okay, so I'm cutting to my point. So in the last 50 years, the state of Israel was the only democracy in the whole Middle East. And it was the less violent country on earth in the last 50 years. Because when they fought, it was because they had war. They had invasion from Syria, from Jordania, from Cairo, from all countries all around them. This is when they had to retaliate. So I really don't, many points I don't agree. I have still one little second. No, because this is very important. You said Jews still carry the burden of having been called the killers of God. This has been a myth, and it's been a lie, because if they killed the Messiah, Messiah is the translation of Mashiach, which comes from the Hebrew name that means the anointed one. And the anointed one means the designated one by God, the leader. He could be the chief, he could be the king, but the leader of the people, but he was never named God in all time.